We are taking another day to discuss the concept of a simple life, an idea that sounds almost absurd when spoken aloud, yet may prove to be one of the wisest decisions one can make. Over 150 years ago, there was a man who understood this differently than most do today. His name was Henry David Thoreau. In 1845, he committed an act that many considered madness. He moved into a tiny cabin by Walden Pond with almost nothing but his own hands. His goal was to discern what is truly essential for a fulfilling life. Crucially, he wasn't escaping life, fleeing from failure, or harboring bitterness toward the world. He was testing a hypothesis. Can less provide more freedom than more? The answer he found has the power to fundamentally reshape our understanding of happiness and success. The truth is, we spend our entire lives accumulating redundant things, chasing goals we never chose, and proving our worth to people we barely know. In the midst of this endless race, we forget to ask the simplest questions. What am I doing this for? Why am I running? Where am I going? And who decided this was my direction? The trap of modern life. Before we examine Thoreau's findings, consider where you are right now, the trap we have all fallen into without noticing. Modern life subtly siphons away our attention, time, and energy, conditioning us to believe that this frantic pace is normal simply because everyone else is doing it. Think about it. What is the first thing you do upon waking? You reach for your phone. Before you have even felt your body wake up, you are assaulted by notifications, messages, emails, and other people's problems. Your mind isn't even fully conscious, yet it is already burdened by a dozen external demands. We have normalized this to the point where we don't even ask, is this healthy? Is it useful to immerse oneself in the world's chaos the moment we open our eyes? Do we serve these devices, or do they serve us? At breakfast, if you have time for it at all, you are already rehearsing the day, solving non-existent problems and worrying about meetings that are hours away. The mind struggles to simply exist in the here and now, to enjoy the coffee or to listen to the morning sounds. Instead, it races into a future it cannot control. It's like trying to hold water in open palms. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips away, and the more anxiety you create. We fill every pocket of silence with podcasts, music, and news, but silence is only frightening because it brings up the uncomfortable questions we've spent the day avoiding. At work, we face an endless loop of emails, meetings that could have been memos, and urgent tasks of questionable significance. We are stuck in a performative busyness, rarely stopping to ask if we are doing what truly matters. By evening, we return home exhausted, and even rest becomes a chore. We must choose from thousands of shows across dozens of platforms. We scroll, we filter, we spend 20 minutes deciding, and once we finally pick something, the nagging feeling remains that we should have picked something else, that we are wasting time, that there is something better out there. Deep down, you just wanted to rest, but even that has become another decision, another source of choice fatigue. When was the last time you simply stopped and felt alive? When did you last experience the rare sense of presence without running toward or away from something? The reality is that we live on autopilot. Wake, work, consume, sleep, repeat. There is a part of us that feels empty even when we acquire everything that is supposed to bring happiness. We ignore this feeling because everyone around us is doing the same. But if everyone is stuck in the same trap, does that make the trap any less real? Thoreau's experiment and the concept of enough. In 1845, Thoreau looked at the people around him and saw exactly the same thing. There was no internet, no smartphones, none of the modern excuses we use today, yet the trap was already set. He saw hard-working people toiling for things they didn't need, encumbered by massive houses and a mountain of possessions that only created more work. If this trap existed 150 years ago, then the problem isn't the smartphone or Netflix, it is deeper. It lies in how we organize our lives and how we define success. Thoreau dared to ask a revolutionary question. What happens if I strip away everything superfluous and leave only the bare essentials? What remains? What is actually required for a good life? He built a small cabin with his own hands, grew his own food, and lived with almost nothing for 2 years. I often think about the courage that required, not physical courage, but philosophical courage. It is the ability to look at your life and question everything you've been told is true. It is much easier to complain about how complex life is while following habit than it is to ask, am I the one overcomplicating this? Can I choose differently? Thoreau realized that minimal is often more than enough. Simplicity is not a deprivation, it is a liberation. The less you need, the freer you become. This sounds like a cliché, but it is a profound truth. We are taught that accumulation is progress, but what if every item you add to your life is actually a new link in a chain? What if happiness isn't found at the next level, but in the realization that you already have enough? Our possessions own us. Stop and ask yourself, what do I truly need? Not what society dictates or what your parents expected or what your friends have. What in the quiet of the night truly makes you happy? The uncomfortable truth is that it is far less than we've been led to believe. Every possession carries an invisible weight. That sofa you bought but rarely use occupies not just physical space, but mental space. It must be cleaned, maintained, and worried over. If someone spills a drink on it, you get angry. If it gets scratched, you get stressed. Do you own the sofa, or does the sofa own you? The car in the garage represents more than just the purchase price. It is monthly insurance, biannual maintenance, and endless fuel costs. It is the constant background noise of worry about theft, scratches, or accidents. It is the daily stress of the commute that drains you before you even reach your desk. Does the car belong to you, or do you belong to it? The stacks of clothes in your closet that haven't been worn in years occupy a space that could be empty, light, and calm. Instead, they demand sorting and provoke guilt every time you look at them. Everything we own demands something in return: attention, time, energy, or money. We become the store managers of lives we intended to lead. The cost in hours of life. Thoreau had a metric that changed my perspective. The true cost of a thing is the amount of life which is required to be exchanged for it immediately or in the long run. He didn't measure cost in dollars, he measured it in hours. Before a purchase, he would ask, how many hours must I work to earn this? Is this object worth that many hours of my finite existence? Usually the answer was no. Think of the absurdity. We work 9 hours a day, 6 days a week to pay for an apartment we barely enjoy because we are always at work to afford the rent. We leave at 7 a.m. and return at 8 p.m. The home we work so hard for becomes merely a place to sleep. It is a vicious, nonsensical cycle. We buy expensive clothes to impress people at parties we don't even want to attend. We do it because it's expected. We sacrifice hours of our lives to earn money for clothes to impress people who aren't even looking at us. We stay in jobs we hate, waking up every Monday with a pit in our stomachs just to maintain a standard of living that, if we are honest during our sleepless nights, doesn't bring us joy. We have the house, the car, the clothes, the tech, but are we living or just surviving? We are in a sophisticated prison we built ourselves, brick by brick, purchase by purchase. But the key to the cell has been in our hands the entire time. You only need the courage to use it, to open the door and to walk away, even if people judge you. It is your life passing by, not theirs. The paradox of choice. Modern culture suffers from a surfeit of choice, which leads to a specific kind of exhaustion. We spend 30 minutes on Netflix just deciding what to watch, and then we watch it with only half our attention because we're wondering if we made the wrong choice. We stand paralyzed in the supermarket aisle by 30 brands of coffee.
We waste precious mental energy on trivialities. Psychologists call this the paradox of choice. The more options we have, the less satisfied we are with our eventual decision. More options do not equal more freedom, they equal more anxiety and more regret. Thoreau understood this intuitively. He reduced his options to the absolute minimum: a few functional items of clothing, a few essential possessions, only those social commitments that held true meaning. By doing so, his mind became free. Not free in the sense of a commercial, but free to think deeply, to create, and to simply exist without the mind jumping to the next problem. Conclusion: reclaiming your life. We live in a culture that earns money from our dissatisfaction. It sells us the illusion that happiness is always one purchase away. But as soon as you reach that goal, the goalpost moves. It is a treadmill that only speeds up.
Thoreau's most famous observation remains his most haunting. The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. They follow scripts they didn't write and chase goals that don't satisfy them. But research shows that beyond a certain baseline of security, more money and more status do not yield more happiness. Real wealth is time. Time to live fully, to exist without the constant pressure of more. Simple living is not about having less, it is about reclaiming your life. It is about stripping away the layers of a borrowed identity to find what is yours. It starts small. Declutter, cancel the subscriptions you don't use, delete the distracting apps, find minutes of silence, practice presence. Every intentional choice you make builds a life of clarity and authenticity. Time, not things, is your greatest wealth. Live your life fully right now.